Well, it's wonderful to have Resul Pookutty with us here at Gouna Film Festival. He's one of the jury members of the award show as well. A pleasure having you on Bollywood Hungama, first of all.
Thank you.
So, how's been your experience at Gouna Film Festival so far?
It's been very good. It's actually, for me, it's a discovery of a space that I didn't know, kind of films that I didn't know. Because when you talk about Arab cinema, we only know last a decade and a half Iranian cinema ruling the world, as part of Arab cinema. But there is much more to Arab cinema than Iranian cinema. That I'm discovering now. There are films from Sudan, films from Lebanon, films from Egypt, films from Tanzania. There are so many Arab countries that are making fantastic films. For example, there are 3 films made from Sudan. Like out of the 3 films made in 1 year, 2 films are in Venice. Mm-hmm. We make 1,200 films and none of it is in Venice. The quality of work that is coming out from this part of the continent is amazingly exquisite, I would say. Right. So for me, in that sense, it's a discovery. Mm. And the way that we profiled Arabs, Islam, and the Muslims of the world, I think it's an eye-opener for me. Terrorism is a threat. Extremism is a threat to mankind. Everyone that we say as the Arabs are not a part of that. Even within that community, it's only a small fraction of people who are into this extremism and destroy human lives and peace of mind. And the resistance against them is actually from within the community itself. Mm. Some of the films that I saw in this festival is, for me, in that sense, is an eye-opening. That I see the resistance from the liberal people, the people who want freedom and want, some of the women rights about in the Muslim countries like Tunisia and other places like Lebanon and all that. And for me, when we talk about any theosophical society, especially the Middle Eastern theosophical society, we see people in, completely covered, they can't do this, you look around and, there are people walking around in bikinis and mini skirts and, like the way we are probably, like the way any Western country is probably. And this is Egypt. And even then. And so I think the entire profiling that we've been taught about these countries and their culture and their ethos are completely wrong. So for me, this has been the biggest discovery, being part of this festival. I'm one of the feature film narrative juries and interacting with all of them. there are people from all over the world. Right. There are people from Australia, from Moscow, Egyptian, Lebanon, and Indian. There are 5 people in this. There are 3 different juries looking at films, and the lineup of films are really, really good, amazingly, well programmed. And be it master classes made in industry participation and delegates and their interaction, film students, and El Gouna is a very secluded place in Egypt. You have to travel 2 hours from Cairo to Hurghada. From Hurghada, you travel another half an hour to come to this place, and it's a beautifully developed property. And you see the Red Sea. Like you can just walk into 500-600 meters into the sea, and it's like, personally, in that respect, experiencing and understanding this space, it's been amazing. And for me, it's the first time in Egypt, so it's been a revelation for me.
You made a very important point that about so many movies going to Venice and other important festivals from this part of the world. Do you feel that the fact that their stories are about resistance, their stories are about freedom of just saying what they believe in saying, and the fact that they're actually trying to raise a voice against the conflict and against oppression, do you feel that is one of the reasons that these stories are so relevant?
See, like if you analyze what has made Iranian cinema so big over the last 2 decades, that it's a theosophical society and there are limitations of telling stories. So what they've done is they have went and found stories that are within the paradigm, the paradigm that has been given to them. They found small stories. They found losing a chapel is a big thing, or losing a child, a father searching for, and so they found a small life incidents, and from there they made universal films. Of course, the stories of resistance is one thing, because the advent of extremist thought in the Islamic countries is one aspect. I'm saying all the films that make are not the same. For example, the cinema in Egypt, the mainstream films in Egypt is quite like Hindi cinema. I see a lot of parallels between them and our Hindi cinema. Be it the way they use music, the songs, and music is an integral part of Egyptian cinema. Also Lebanon, and they also imbibe a lot of things from Indian culture, especially music. I see in the opening ceremony, I saw a performance where, the Lebanon belly dance being done to an Indian tune. So I see, because of the massive popularity of Hindi cinema and Indian culture, there are exchanges happening without we knowing about it. It reflecting in films also. There are varied subjects. There are subjects about women's right. There are subjects about how the Tunisian film that we saw yesterday says about a woman who is having an affair with another woman whose husband is in jail. She's wanting to break free and go. So there's a lot of and Papicha, another film which is actually selected from Tunisia as their entry into the Oscars, which is going to be recognized here as well. Again, it's a story of a young girl, like a 18-year-old, 20-year-old girl, a fashion designer. Of course, the extremists come and wipe them out, and the shootings in the colleges. But as a resistance to her, she decided to do a fashion show, and it's her struggle to express herself through the work that she is doing. So I see an enormous amount of talent. For example, more than half the films that we saw from the Arab world are made by women.
Yeah.
That's again another more interesting thing. When we think women are suppressed in this community or in this part of the world because of the nature of the regime or whatever it is,
Or maybe the propaganda.
Again, it's a revelation. More than 50% of films that came here are made by women, and it's amazing. And all those films are of very high standard.
Right.
And they are going to be recognized. We just finished all the jury duties, but I'm, off the record, I'm saying it's amazing. They made better films than the men. Which means they have things to say.
Yeah.
Things to say that is reflecting the society, reflecting what they are going through as a culture, whereas in our film, I feel when we look at Hindi cinema, barring very few films, I feel that kind of original work that we are doing, I think we can count in our fingers. Over 250 films that we make in Hindi cinema. The original content is like you can count on your fingers.
Right.
Rest everything is our like projects. We make like a project with X, Y, Z, and with songs and dances, and we make some cook up some stories, and we make a project. We are not making something that is actually touching our heart. We are not making something that is a conversation with our immediate society. That would transcend time. I think that is what is lacking in our filmmaking, and I think that is what is vibrant in a society like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like a society that is suppressed will find its utterance, in the work that they do, in the art they make, and I believe they also have very focused. What I'm seeing here is their like work of art is define a society. So I think they're giving so much importance to people who are working in the artistic, doing artistic endeavor, be it film, be it music, be it paintings, be it architecture, be it any artistic endeavor. They're focusing so much. They're spending money. They're encouraging. They're nurturing the youth. Can you believe in a place like this you have a Berlin University of a technical university and art?
Right.
It's like a godforsaken place. Who will come here? You think who is going to travel this far and come here? But you see, there are the technical universities running full house. So it's amazing to see, and the kind of so it also makes me realize that we know so little, about these aspects, and we get carried away with what is being told to us. You think that something comes in a print, or something comes in an online, or something comes in a news is actually truth, which is actually not.
Absolutely.
So for me, that is like. Wow,
Even in terms of movies, I'm sure that you must be watching a whole lot of movies that are coming from all across the world over here. They're French cinema, Italian, a lot of places. Yeah. There's no censorship. They are being filmed. They are being screened the way they were. There's no censorship, and we are here in Egypt. Do you find that fascinating?
Yeah, Speaking of which, I don't remember seeing any censor certificate in any of the films that I saw. You know, you just reminded me. There's no censorship. It's amazing. But you don't need to be go through a censorship to be able to show the film in a festival. Because in a festival, there is evolved audiences coming in. There are film students, there are academicians, there are film delegates from all over the world coming in. You don't need to be, show a censored film there. But whereas in India, even if you want to show it on a small, like a public exhibition, you need a censor certificate. It is so bad. Then I feel, are we in a democracy, or are we in a, we are talking about all this freedom of speech and this, that and all that. Are we actually executing it? You tend to doubt yourself. I saw a Sudani film where this blatant comment about Quran and Islamist, isms and all that. And I was just asking my Lebanese and Egyptian Arab director who was in the panel. I said, we can't imagine something like being said in India. It'll be censored, or it'll be like considered blasphemy. Like you in a Muslim country and making a film about a Muslim society, and you say this blatantly, that Quran is a thick book, a fat book that need to be, that, you don't need to mug it up. Things like that. I found it so fascinating. Like, hello. Like, we are so wrong in understanding our people. They're also our people. They're also, just our neighbors, across the neighbors. If you come up, Kabul, we also shared, when we talked about Akhanda Bharat, we also shared the same milieu, you see. And they were culture that flowed in from Yemen and, all these countries that came to us. Yeah. We were traders, we were going up and down. Our natural resources came here, we took it from them and we gave it back to them. It was such an evolving, country, among each other. Now I see, even with all this technology and moving forward and awareness and education, everything, I'm just sitting and wondering, we are so wrong.
Absolutely, I think that's a beautiful insight. So obviously, you've been part of Oscar several times. You've interacted with a lot of Hollywood filmmakers and technicians, and it is expected. It's a given that they have a certain liberal viewpoint. They have a certain way of thinking. But when you come to this part of the world, and when you find such sort of expression, do you find that liberating in a way? Do you find that it gives you a new perspective? Because this is not expected from this part of the world. It is not maybe expected in a way.
I think that is my problem. It is the way that I understood this, or the way that I've been told about this society was wrong. Now I am finding it myself that everything that has been talked about is actually wrong.
Right.
And I think it is with all of us. All of us have to find out ourselves what is actually the truth behind a society. There is problem everywhere. Like we saw a film called American Skin, where how black is profiled. It's a gripping tale of how a 14-year-old black boy, is being shot by the police, in the middle of the night, because the father was driving, was taking the boy from the school was taking somewhere, and it's racial profiling, and that neighborhood at that time of the night, 2 black people driving is a problem. Right. They come and they charge and they shoot. So it's a film about killing, and the film actually talked about so much about what actually goes on inside a white guy, from the police perspective, what actually goes through a black guy's mind when he's being charged and profiled. There is an interaction. It's like a 12 Angry Men kind of a film, because these people takes over the police station and put them on a trial by the jury, and because he doesn't get justice from the normal court. So. And it's a film mentored by Spike Lee. Then you can imagine the kind of film, and it is amazing. Then you realize that even in a society like America, you have problem.
Definitely.
And that problem is not being talked about. And I see at the same time, out of the 6 films that I saw, 5 of the Arab cinema that I saw is talking about problem that they are facing, and they're conversing. Now, for me, a film is a conversation that artist and a group of people is having with their own society. Look, we have this problem. How to address this. And that conversation is free. You see, there's nobody is telling them, don't do this, don't do that. We will chop it. You can't show this, you can't show that, we can't talk about it. Nothing like that. No classification of A, UA and U, nothing. They are conversing. It's fascinating. It's fascinating.